Hello, I'm your host, Robbie Haig, and you are watching Downtown. Thank you for being here. We are at the Barnstable Airport in Hyannis, Mass. And I'm talking with Nancy Shoemaker, who is the Historical Collections Manager here. Welcome to the show, Nancy.
Thank you, Robbie. Nice to be here.
It's so good for you to give us some of your time.
Well, it's always a pleasure to show off our beautiful exhibit in the boardroom.
Excellent. Thank you. So we'll lead you right into whatever it is you would like to tell us about the history of the airport here in Hyannis.
Well, the airport has been here since 1928. Robertson Ailing, the Ailing family, it's A-Y-L-I-N-G, has been a supporter of the town in Cape Cod for a long time. And the son of Charles Ailing, Robertson Ailing, started this by buying 57 acres of farmland. And starting in March 28th, he started tearing down trees and ripping up the roots of trees. And by June 17th, he called up to an airport up in Weymouth and said, somebody come on down and try my new airfield. Nobody had tried it yet. He was a new air pilot himself.
Wow.
And so a gentleman named Alton Sherman with a local doctor came down and tried it and declared it quite lovely. And in fact, when you come to the exhibit, you'll see we have so many interesting artifacts. And this is one of the flight gloves of Alton Sherman.
It looks like rabbit skin.
I don't know
Wow.
what it is. I have to admit, I have ignorance there. But it's to show you how cold it would get in an open cockpit in those days. So he came down, and the rest is kind of history. Since 1928, the airport's been open. In the late 20s, early 30s, this was an exciting, fun place for the whole community to gather. No television, no internet. Yeah. There were stunt shows almost every weekend, and it seemed like half the town would come here to see these stunt pilots doing their rather dangerous things, which I could get into a little bit later. But Robertson Ailing died of he drowned when he was out duck hunting about a year and a half later. And the gentleman, Alton Sherman, again, who was the first aviator to arrive here and fly in here, became the airport manager for 25 years.
Really?
So we also have behind me a flight suit of Crocker Snow, and Crocker Snow was another aviator from the early days, and that was given to us by the Marston's Mills Historical Society. Again,
Very nice.
You had to be suited up to be in a plane at that point.
Really?
And
it was that cold? Huh?
Oh yes, yeah. And he ended up being the head of a Federal Avionics Association and the director of Massachusetts Aviation Association, so he was quite something. History is everywhere here. Oh. But people always ask, okay, it's Barnstable Municipal Airport, some people call it Hyannis Airport, but it has a subtitle of Boardman Palando Field. And many don't even know that's that other name for the field, and certainly people don't know the story behind it. And you'll see all our exhibits as you wander in here and take a look as a visitor. One of the sections is devoted totally to those two people. They had trained here in Hyannis and ended up flying out in 1931, 4 years after Lindbergh had done a transatlantic flight. They did the very next west to east transatlantic flight from the United States to Europe. They went to Istanbul, they broke the long distance record, it was in 49 hours, and we have all sorts of artifacts from their flight. So they left New York, they went to Istanbul by this airport. Well, they trained here, this was their home base. We have trophies of theirs. This was what they did when they ended up in Istanbul. They were treated like royalty by the Turks. And each one of them was given, it was a little larger than it really was, but was given a diamond brooch with a sapphire in it. I mean, there's lots of diamonds. They were very ramshackle, 49 hours sitting in this little freezing plane. I've gotten to know the family, and they've told me interesting stories of how they had 2 chickens and sandwiches to eat along the way, which they never really did. They were just barely making it, trying to stay awake for the 49 hours. And the one gentleman was chosen because he was only 127 pounds. And they stripped the plane of also radio, of brakes, of all these different essentials so they could have more fuel. And I think it was something like 783 gallons of fuel. They landed in Istanbul with 5 gallons to spare.
Oh my goodness.
So quite the flight.
Wow. And there were 3 of them?
There were two gentlemen. In fact, the lighter one, after a while with the fuel going away, which was stored in the tail, he had to crawl to the back of the plane to keep the tail down as they were going over the Alps and then finally landing.
Wow, because the fuel had been eliminated.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
One of the interesting stories. And another one is a young woman whose name was Edith Kelly, and she went by the nickname of Tailspin. So by 1939, they had an aeronautics school here, and many flight instructors were here. I think they had 6 or 7 flight instructors. And she learned to become a pilot, and we're so fortunate to have photo albums of hers and lots of beautiful photos that you'll see all around here.
Very good.
So.
Wow. Women in the air.
Oh yes, there were many. Crocker Snow, the first flight he took, the first flight he ever took commercially, he took a woman named Amelia Earhart up because she was working at a sort of what we might call a home for homeless people. She was a social worker working in Boston at the time, and he took her up on a flight, which is fascinating. So
well, most recently we've been hearing a great deal about women who worked in the air. I mean, did we know this? No, it wasn't common, was it?
Yes, no, you're right.
Yeah.
Right. There's been some interesting presentations even around the Cape about that. So we have our share, so come down and come see it. We're right in the boardroom at Barnstable Municipal Airport.
So, do you want to talk about what's happened with the reconstruction of the airport? Because I've seen changes in this area.
There's so much more I could tell you. Yeah, the airport at the time of World War II had 3 4,000-foot runways, but Bud Briault, our manager of the airport, is going to tell you all those technical things. I'm not the expert on that, but it's reminding me of one story that during the first part of World War I, this airport was used by the Army and mainly for reconnaissance to make sure that German submarines weren't loitering out in Nantucket Sound and beyond. And they never did definitively point out to any of the U-boats or any submarines. But then in 1943, the Navy took over this area, and they're the ones who installed these 3 runways and really made the airport much better. And they were training bombers, one of whom was the first George H.W. Bush, trained here in 1943. Yeah, but I'll leave Bud to tell you all the other interesting details of what's been going on at the airport. And a lot of new things being installed here.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Conversation here at the Barnstable Airport with the manager, Bud Briault. Thank you.
Thank you,
it's
Robbie.
Wonderful being on the roof here.
Well, I'm hoping that you would be able to get a little bit more of the airport and a little bit of business, but right now it's a little quiet.
Well,
but maybe we'll get a few planes coming in and out while we're talking.
Sounds good. So you're going to let us know what has been happening with the airport.
So as you heard earlier from Nancy, the airport was built back in 1928. And then it was modified by the military during the war. And then subsequent to that, we've now eliminated one of those runways, and it's just a taxiway now, and part of our north ramp. And the other 2 runways we're getting ready to resurface. We're going to start runway 1533, which is our southwest-southeast runway. We'll be resurfacing that one starting, we were going to start in October, but because of scheduling and the weather and so forth, we decided to wait until springtime. So sometime in March we'll be starting that. It'll probably be taking us about a good 6 months to complete the reconditioning, resurfacing of that entire runway, which is about 5,200 feet long, 150 feet wide, and it's about a $7.2 billion construction project.
Wow.
So, and then following that, in then the year 2021, we'll be doing runway 624. About the same price, same thing. We're completely renovating it. It really will be almost the conclusion of the major construction here at the airport. Back in 2009, we finally were able to get all of our permitting and our funding aligned, and we started the construction of this new terminal and the new tower that you see behind us. That new tower was completely paid for by the FAA and the federal government for about $7 million. It's a state-of-the-art tower, and it meets certain security requirements that we were required to put into it. And it's about 85 feet tall at the roof, and it was designed excuse me, at a computer center down in Atlantic City, New Jersey, where they did 3D plotting, and they located this tower at the optimum location on the airport at the right height, so that the people in the tower can see every movement area on the airfield. Before that they couldn't, some of it was blind. So we started the construction with the tower, and then we tore down the old tower and we started the construction of the new terminal. And the old tower used to be terminal and tower right out here. And so we built this like within feet of the old terminal. So one day when we finally had it up to a certain point, we moved overnight into the new tower and into the new terminal and started operations, and then we tore down the old terminal and tower. That project and a road that we put in, if you may have come in on the back road from Addicts Lane, coming in the back way, that's now a new service road that was not there before. So we put that in. So the combination was about a $40 million construction project that we completed in 2011. And since then we've been doing other repairs around the airfield. We've replaced the entire east ramp on the other side of the airfield. That was a $5 million project. If you look out that way on the airfield, you can see our solar field. When we built it, it was the 5th largest solar field at an airport in the United States. I'm not sure if that's still the case, but it's 20 acres of solar panels, 24,000 panels, and it puts out a little over 7 megawatts of power. So it's huge, and it's a way for us to help the environment and also to generate income for the airport. So it's been fantastic. In fact, we want to expand on that, and we're looking now into doing another phase in our parking lot. So,
how many different airlines actually come to your airport?
Right now we have JetBlue, Rectrix Aviation just started, Rectrix Shuttle, and Cape Air, Nantucket Airlines has been with us for about 25 years. And last year, unfortunately, Island Airlines went bankrupt and ceased operations, so Rectrix Shuttle and perhaps a new one called Island Shuttle will be starting in the near future. So we'll have those 4 airlines. Over the years, since Nancy was talking to you earlier about the history, we've had probably over 35 different airlines have served this airport in one capacity or another.
I was very surprised to hear JetBlue was here, but excuse me, I'm not a Cape person, so you can forgive me that.
Yeah, we have JetBlue. This year was our 3rd season with JetBlue, and they started a little earlier. They started on May 12th this year. They start, as we call it, a seasonal start, so it was like 5 days a week, and then starting around Memorial Day, they went to full-time, 7 days a week, 1 flight a day. And went all the summer, and on Labor Day it cut back, and right now we're at two flights a week, and that will stop completely on Columbus Day. Okay. And then we'll wait till next year. We're working with JetBlue, and hopefully we'll be able to expand that season again next year to get even more service.
Wonderful.
And we're working with the airports at Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard to hopefully try to induce JetBlue to come here on a year-round basis, so that we can all come to Hyannis with all of our people year-round. particularly off-season during the winter months.
Very good. You do a lot for the community here too.
We do. We try to be part of the community. One of the things that we were challenged when we first moved here was what can you do to show that you're part of the Cape Cod community, that ambiance. So we started with an art program, and we felt that was the best way to show our connection to the community. So that worked really well for about a year or so, and then the artist participation started to wane a little bit. So we joined forces with the Cape Cod and Islands Art Educators Association, who are all the teachers from all the different schools on the entire Cape and the islands. And they are now providing artwork for the airport. You may have seen it on display downstairs. We're on our second display.
They're quite beautiful.
They're really nice pieces of work. They're also for sale. The airport gets no commission for it. Any sales benefits the artist, and I believe it's 30% goes to a scholarship fund.
Wonderful.
So for students.
Sure.
And then in conjunction with them, we also started another program with a couple of schools and with the Veterans Associations, where they interview veterans every year, and then on the basis of those interviews, they do artwork. And we have a display starting right around Veterans Day in November. It'll go for about 10 days. And the students will come in, put their artwork on display. We have it downstairs for everybody to see. And then we have a little reception at the end where they meet with the veterans, and we thank everybody for participating. So that's just the art program. Then we also sponsor the Cape Cod Concert Band. They practice here on Monday nights at the airport. They like the acoustics, and they certainly like the price because we don't charge them.
Ah.
And so we try to do that for all nonprofits that we can accommodate here at the Cape. We also sponsor the VFW, the Marine Corps League, the Coast Guard Auxiliary, and a few others. So anything we can do to try to help the community.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
You have something else going on here that's very interesting and to the community. You sell pies, don't you?
Yes, Centerville Pie. Centerville Pie Company started this year. We were very fortunate to have them come in. They started on May 12th also, same day that JetBlue did. This is their second store. They have their main outlet is in Centerville on Route 28, and they've delighted customers and the airport by opening this second store. They're open for breakfast and lunch. Right now they're only open 5 days a week, closed on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and they're only open for breakfast and lunch. But you can also use this facility to order and obtain your frozen pies to take home with you. They're wonderful. I can attest to that.
And these are the pies of Oprah Winfrey fame,
That's right.
if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. They started a few years ago, and Oprah Winfrey discovered them and went national, and now they're a national company.
Wow.
So we felt very fortunate, very happy that they're here. So that's part of our thing that we want to talk about a little bit, is the fact that we think that the airport is an economic engine for the region. Economic studies performed by the Massachusetts Aeronautics Division have shown that this airport puts over $200 million a year into the local economy through salaries, and we have over 2,000 people employed either directly or indirectly by the airport, and over $200 million into the economy. We have about almost $90 million a year in payroll that goes into the local economy just from businesses and people working here or associated with the airport. So we think that we're an economic engine, and I think you can see that since we did the upgrade on the terminal and the airfield. We've seen businesses growing up around us, and they're improving their businesses, and you can just see that happening. And another indicator of that is tomorrow we're sponsoring the Cape Cod Young Professionals Back to Business Bash. This is their 10th year of having this gathering where people meet, connect, form business contacts to promote their businesses on the Cape. And we're having over 600 people here tomorrow, and we're sold out, which is a fantastic thing.
And I hear construction
The
going
noise
on
you hear in the
behind.
background is a tent that's going up for tomorrow. The whole thing will be turned over to them, and all the different businesses. They'll have displays and booths available, and food available, and that kind of thing. It's just a wonderful thing.
I will no longer think of this as a small airport as I'm going around the Rotary.
Right. We are the third busiest commercial airport in the state. We may be dropping a little bit on that because of Island Air's demise. But number 1 is Logan, number 2 is Nantucket, and we're number 3, or have been in the past. So we are a busy little airport.
Wonderful. And always coming up with something new and different.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
My pleasure.
This has really been a wonderful day for us to be here.
I'm glad you like it. I'm sorry we couldn't provide a plane for you.
Well,
but
we're not done yet.
We're not done yet.
It could happen. I thank you very much,
My
Bud.
pleasure,
It's
Robin.
been a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
Listen to
Appreciate it.
what is going on here at Barnstable. And I hope you out there watching downtown are as thrilled with this as we are being here. This is your host, Robbie Haig, saying thanks for being here, and we hope to see you again real soon.